I left when I realized our marriage was over. It took her 10 days to notice.
You know, it's better late than never.
I will notice my husband is missing in 7 to 10 business days.
T-minus 9 days.
I, male 35, was married to my wife, female 35, for 8 years. I left her 5 years ago. We are child-free by choice, which was also her choice. I had always said we had a good relationship and marriage, but looking back, I see that it was good for her. By the way, this comes from user HumbleDriver3696 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, here is my story. I've always been the nerdy type. Smart, good grades, but never popular. I'm from a very well-off family due to my grandparents' inheritance and some smart investments that my parents did. I didn't have to go to college or work and still have a comfortable life. But I love what I did. I met my wife my first year in college. She was in my class and was looking for a tutor. She was a scholarship kid. We spent more and more time together, but never on the weekend. I wasn't the outgoing type, and she would still go out on the weekends, but after a long while, we did start going on dates, and after I graduated, we got married. Looking back, she started making decisions for us as soon as we got together. My wife worked the first half of our marriage, and when her company downsized, she got laid off. She became a stay-at-home wife who was not at home that much. She had friends she took trips with, had a litany of lunches and dinners with her friends, basically spent my money on her well-off lifestyle. Well, I remember our love life being passionate in the beginning, and let me just say that is only a memory. When I was 29, I was involved in a car crash. They say a drunk driver totaled my car, but I still have no memory of that day.
Whoa.
The twists and turns this story's taking already. I was in a coma for 2 weeks. After waking up, I had to learn to do a lot again. After 4 months, I went back to work. When I came back home, my wife put me in the spare room. She said it had been like that a while because I was snoring. Your wife doesn't sound like she cares you were in a coma, dude. I kept my mouth shut, but I knew that this was new. The accident somehow gave me clarity of mind. I could see that the marriage has been over for a while, but I still wanted to see if I could save it. But everything I tried failed. What sealed the deal for me was my 30th birthday. I came home and she was not home. She was having a spa day with her friends. I ordered takeout, watched a movie, and made a decision. I wanted out.
Okay.
The next morning, I went to my lawyer to start drafting divorce papers. I stopped engaging with her unless absolutely necessary. Slowly, I started selling anything that had any emotional value to me. I left all her stuff for her. I bought a new car and left it at a parking garage not so far from our home. 1 month later, all I had left were my clothes and a couple of laptops, a projector, and a portable screen. Everything I needed to work from the road. I didn't quit my job. I arranged for it to be completely remote. 2 months after my birthday, I stayed while my wife was at just another lunch with her girls. I took the new car, packed everything I needed in it, and left the divorce papers and a letter on my bed in the spare room and closed the door to my house for the last time, wondering how long it would take for her to notice. I decided to drive cross-country and visit every place I wanted to go, but couldn't because my wife didn't want to. We had a prenup, so she had no rights to ask for anything. In the letter, I explained. I told her I was leaving, and I would leave her the house and the car, and would pay a sum every month, because exactly a year after that, she was on her own. In my own stupidity, I forgot to mention why I was leaving, but this would work in my favor. I gotta say, I'm not a huge fan of the technique here, OP.
I don't like either of this from both ends.
It sounds like your wife sucks, but it also sounds like you are really, really not good at confrontation. Not gonna lie.
What's the word, Dakota, here that's missing?
What?
Communication.
Imagine just having the hard talk with your wife instead of doing this, but who knows? Maybe it works out in his favor. We don't know yet.
I mean, he's going cross country by himself, having the time of his life, it looks like.
I would hope so, but let's keep going. 10 days after I left, I got a text from my wife asking me where I was and if this was a joke. She called me, but I didn't pick up. I never pick up the phone while driving. I had an automated text sent that said, "I'm driving and will call back later." She sent me text after text after text. That night, I stopped in a motel and decided to read the texts before calling her back. First, she was asking if this was a joke, then asking when I would come back, then begging me to come back, not knowing why I left, and then she said something. She was sorry and it didn't mean anything, and she would cut him off. She was having an affair, something I never suspected.
I was like, who's him? I was like, she can't cut off OP. OP cut her off.
Technically good news, because hey, as if you needed another reason.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I don't need a like, this was, wow, that's a curveball that came out of nowhere.
I called her cell phone, and she was at her parents', which I learned this tactic from TV. She started yelling at me, and I hung up. I waited 1 minute and called back. She started yelling again, and I hung up again. I waited 2 minutes and called back again. This time, she wasn't yelling, and I started talking. He's got a secret technique. Pay attention, he's got a secret technique. I told her that she was going to let me talk first, and after I said what I needed to say, then she could ask questions. I told her why I left. We were married but living like roommates. Not even roommates because they at least acknowledge each other. I don't remember the last time we even had a conversation. The last time that we did something together. I didn't remember the last time we had this spicy sleep, but I know it was from before my accident. And I told her that for a month before leaving, I stopped talking and sold everything I had in the house, and she didn't even notice. That it took her 10 days after I left before she even noticed I was gone. If she had called me on the day I left, I would have turned around immediately. I ended with, "Thank you for admitting to that affair. I really didn't know about it."
OP's like, well, good riddance.
Yes, perfect. She tried to apologize, and when she asked me to come back, I asked her why. If she could explain to me why, I would consider it. What was in it for me? What was going to change? She had no answer. So I said goodbye and then told her my lawyer will know how to contact her. I then blocked her. The next day, I bought a new phone with a new number and left the old one in the motel. 2 weeks later, I got an email from my lawyer saying the divorce papers were signed. I was free. I kept my word. My lawyer already had all documents signed by me that would transfer ownership of the house and the cars to her. The bank automatically deposits a fixed amount to our shared account every month for a year, where we are now. For the past 5 years, I've been driving across the country, working remotely, and I finally had a reason to start social media. 5-year update.
I want to know your adventures. I don't know about your ex-wife anymore. I want to know about you, man.
I posted online where I've been and where I'm going. I stay in a place for a couple of weeks, and then I drive to the next. My ex-wife started following me on Instagram a year after I left, and out of curiosity, I looked at her public posts. I'm not planning on following her back. She posted pics with her boyfriend soon after I left. To her credit, she didn't badmouth me, at least not on Instagram. 2 months after I left, they apparently broke up. That was the last time I really had an update on her. I also have a spicy sleep life now. Once I put myself out there, it turned out to be easier to have casual spicy sleep. No committed relationship.
Look at this guy.
Look at this guy living his best life, driving around the country.
He's living his best dream.
Not married to a terrible ex-wife cheating on him.
No, he's happy. You can tell. You could just from writing this, you can tell he's like smiling.
Now, after years, I'm going back to my hometown. There's a reunion I want to attend. I'm staying for a month, maybe 2, and then I'm going to Canada, and I have no plans of looking up my ex, but I will also not actively avoid her. If I see her, I'll see her. If I don't, I don't. And there's a Q&A update right after that. Yeah, you in the back. How many times do you think I've done it in the last year? The last 5 years. The answer will shock you. I hope that there's probably more to OP than that, but I do think it was really funny. He's like, and by the way,
I have a spicy sleep life. Thanks for asking.
So here's the update. A few things that were already answered in the comments. So people have asked me and even berated me for leaving her the house. The answer is actually extremely simple. I wanted to leave. I made up my mind that I was going to travel, and I didn't want anything trying me down. Selling the house would have taken too long. Leaving it to her was the fastest option. Additionally, my conscience wouldn't have allowed it. She might not be a good person, but I try to be one. Leaving her homeless would have weighed heavily on me. Remember, there's a reason I married her, because I did love her at one time. There are people who think this is fake because I was traveling during COVID. The answer's not that simple, but it could be summed up in 2 words: carefully and not so legally.
My guy's a rock star right
My
now.
guy
Is he a
was
good
living
communicating rock star? No, but he's a rock star in his own mindset.
I don't know if I would do things exactly like OP.
I wouldn't either.
Low key, I think after he went into a coma, he might have just had like a huge personality switch up. I mean, he said after the accident, like he became so clear. He's like, you know what? She can have the cars. She can have the house. I'm just going to drive around.
Maybe it was just like, oh, I just got in a huge accident, got out of a coma, and my wife doesn't even want to talk to me. That's the biggest slap in the face where it's like, oh, that's what's missing.
About my work, I've been working remotely for the past 5 years. 3 years ago, I switched jobs to a new company and position, which is still remote. There was never a necessity to come into an office. I've invested in a satellite internet connection, yes, provided by the company. Now I have high-speed internet everywhere I go. I have KPIs, which is key performance indexes, that I need to reach every 2 weeks. I can set my own working hours as long as I meet the KPIs. About Canada, I'm not migrating to Canada, just visiting. I visit one place for a few weeks and then move to the next and repeat. People have been asking for my social media, and I'm not going to share it. I came to Reddit for the anonymity. I still have a lot of people I know who don't need to hear the story. My social media has been private for a couple of years now. Only extended friends and family are my followers. When my ex-wife started following me, I didn't know much about the privacy settings back then. I do now, and I never bothered to remove her as a follower. But you know who will never remove you as a follower? Us!
Oh,
when
us.
you join our live stream at 3 p.m. PST every weekday on YouTube, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Twitch. All you gotta do is tap our profile, and we might even be live right now. But before you check on that, how do we feel about Rockstar Man? I mean, I know you think he's Rockstar, but like,
I think the way he handled it in his mindset was probably the best way he could handle it. He's like, she's not here. She's out gallivanting with who knows. And he was just like, there's no point. Like, the divorce papers are there. Keep the house, keep the cars. I'm out. He should have done something and communicated a lot better.
you should not do that. If your wife cheats on you, you don't give her the house and the cars.
Yeah, she doesn't deserve it.
But you also don't necessarily, that doesn't mean that you're going to make her homeless. Don't give her all of your property, man.
I bet she just scoffed. She's like, okay, I get the house, I get the cars, and bye. Bye,
it's
husband that I don't talk
absurd.
to, that I already cheat on. I think for him, seriously, this was just like a clear my hands. Literally, he's like, gone with the wind. I'm going to go. I'm going to go be free.
It was very into the
It was
wild.
very into
just
the wild.
straight up like, no possessions. I'm just going to wander the earth now.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be at peace knowing that my adulterous ex-wife had the house. About the divorce being smooth, listen, when I said she signed the papers, that didn't mean everything was set and done. I said I'm free because I felt free. The divorce proceedings still took some time, and when you have a good lawyer and you're traveling, court sessions can be done over Zoom. While it was relatively fast, it certainly wasn't 2 weeks. So her signing the papers was the moment I felt free, not the divorce being finalized. This is real. This is how my life changed, but I can't force people to believe it. So those of you who want to believe it's fiction, I hope you enjoyed the read. P.S. Some people made some Jack Reacher comparisons. I just found out that there's a TV show, and I only knew the movies. Looks like I've got 2 seasons to catch up on. We just shouted out Jack Reacher. Yeah, but that is the end of that story.
This seems like an actual like book or
yeah,
like
but I
this
feel
is
like
crazy.
OP has several more stories to tell.
Oh, he has so many stories. I really want to know his travel stories.